Bonjour à tous, on est là pour parler de Trello. Alors Trello, qu'est-ce que c'est? C'est une plateforme de gestion de projet collaborative et dynamique. Aujourd'hui, Trello a plus de 10 millions d'utilisateurs dans le monde, 250 000 déjà en France. Et si on est là aujourd'hui, c'est parce que c'est le lancement de la version française de Trello. Et pour nous en parler, quoi de mieux que le cofondateur de Trello, Michael Pryor, qui est là pour répondre à notre interview. Nous sommes chez Nous, qui nous a fait l'amabilité de nous recevoir pour cette interview. On démarre tout de suite. Hi Michael, nice to meet you and thank you for your time.
Sure.
I know it's been a few busy days here in France. First of all, can you explain in a few words what's Trello for those of us who don't know what Trello is, and many French people don't know because it's the translation of Trello that's coming these days.
Sure.
So in simple words, what's Trello?
It's a collaborative tool that helps you plan things with people, whether it's at work or at home. That's what Trello is.
Task management is kind of a crowded area. We have Asana, we have Wunderlist and all these. What makes Trello so special and different? What's the insight of Trello?
The key difference is the visual aspect of Trello. I think that if you think of if you look at Trello, it's like a whiteboard with Post-it notes on it. I mean, that's the simplest explanation. And I think that, you know, when you go into companies and you see they have a whiteboard, they've drawn columns, they put that's the way people are working already. If you go into somebody's house, you look on their refrigerator, they've got pictures and Post-it notes on, you know, the back of their door. Like, it's just, people by their nature are very visual, they're spatial with their memory, the way they want to work, the way they keep things. If you look at somebody's monitor, you know, they put pull up Post-it notes all over their monitor. And I think something about that is universal to all people. And a lot of the other tools, I think, are very good at attracting developers or software developers who tend to think in abstract concepts. Like, they might say, here's a project, here's an area, here this task is assigned to somebody, one person, or things like that. And all of that is okay for a certain, you know, set of people, but Trello is supposed to be this horizontal tool that everyone can use and sort of very common theme and approachable to a lot of people.
Yeah, very flexible. So if I do a little bit of role playing, let's say I'm a classic to-do user. I do my grocery list and try to remember when I have to go to get the kids. Can I use Trello, or is it more business oriented? Yeah,
that's a great question, and I think that Trello really shines when you're collaborating with other people. There are a lot of people that use it for themselves. They use it as a to-do list, and I think that's because, you know, Trello's already on their phone. They're using it as part of their workflow. The thing with Trello is it's the current state of whatever you're planning. It's like the place to go to get an update, to figure out where you are, where you're headed. You know, it gives you that one snapshot. And there's great to-do list apps like, I don't know, Remember the Milk or Wunderlist, Evernote. There's things that are sort of built around this personal to-do list. And Trello is a lot more about the collaboration and the visual nature of everyone looking at the same thing and getting the same idea. So
yeah, but I can put my to-do list in it.
Absolutely,
That's
absolutely.
The point.
I mean, it's a list of lists, and our focus is on getting many people to collaborate together, and not just using it at work, but also for home. There's a lot of people who use it, for example, for wedding planning, for your vacation, or your house hunting, for example. And you've got your real estate broker and your wife, and you're trying to manage all these different houses you're looking at. You know, that might be something that you want to get control over and get perspective on.
Okay, and let's say I'm still role-playing. I'm working with Trello on a project with a few friends, and we have this brilliant business idea, and we grow up. Will Trello follow us? Is there more powerful tools inside Trello? What do I get with Trello Gold? And you just announced 2 days ago business class. So how will this follow our growth of a project to an idea to a business to a company to a corporation?
You know, we've seen Trello, like, our goal was to build something that people loved, a product that really helped them, that they would then evangelize and tell other people about themselves, because we're just a tiny startup and we don't have a big marketing budget. So we had to build something that people were willing to recommend to other people. That was going to be how it grew. And we also don't have a big sales team, so we wanted to make it free so that people could use it inside a business, and they might use it in this team, and then it spreads to this other team, and it spreads to this other team. And our idea was, once a company is using it for a lot of their processes and their workflows, and it's part of what they do every day, and it's the place they go to figure out what's happening inside the business, we could add features to make it very useful for them. They might have a lot of boards, so they have a need to organize those boards, for example, or they might have a need to figure out which boards are the most active, or where's stuff happening with inside our team. They also have a lot of other tools that they work with, like Salesforce or GitHub or MailChimp and Slack. You want Trello to integrate with all of those other tools and bring that information into Trello, so you can look at the board, open a card, and see, oh, that lead just closed in Salesforce, or that pull request in GitHub just got merged into the shipping branch, or like all of these, basically tying all of these things together. And that's what business class does.
So Trello becomes, in a big corporation, like a hub of all the applications like you can use, in the center of everything.
Like, our idea was not to create a freemium product. I wouldn't call Trello a freemium product, because I think of freemium as, you get this much for free, and then you get to a certain point, and now you have to pay us. It's like, you get this much storage, but then now you've exceeded that. And we really want Trello to be the free tool, to be everything it could possibly be for those people, and that the paid product would be just make it even more powerful, right? So you can use Trello, it's free, and you can use it for as long as you want. You don't have to pay us.
You're a co-founder of Trello, and how did you have the idea? Was it a need you had, the founders, something you wanted it to exist, or was it like a market opportunity?
It actually came from a couple different ideas that we had at the time. My business partner Joel Spolsky and I started a company called Fog Creek Software in New York City. Software company, we tried a bunch of different projects over the years. We just wanted to get smart people together. We'll try neat things. At the time, we were experimenting with a bunch of different ideas. We were talking to startups. We were looking at how they were using our existing projects. We would go around and we would see that they would have these whiteboards up, and they'd post-it notes on them. I can see some in this space right now over there. And we were thinking about that, and why we only saw that software developers use that. Like, what was the core of that idea that could be useful to everyone, to sort of give them structure? And the fact that you have a watch, you've got your Apple Watch, you have your phone, you're always connected, and you sort of, this board, if you have a board in this space, it's only there. You can't take it with you, right? So you have to be in the office to see it. And sort of, how do you make something digital that can help people, but has all the benefits of that way of working and planning?
Nowadays, security is a big issue for companies, and it's becoming a big issue. How do you ensure the data in Trello? How does it happen? Does all my data go on your servers, and how is it all secured?
That's a great question, and I was talking about this morning. It's actually, we start with a culture of keeping the data private and the sanctity of people's data. We call it UGC, user-generated content. So everything that you type into Trello in a card, whether you name a board, all of that we consider to be this protected UGC. And it starts with making sure that at the company, only a very few people can actually physically get access to that. So like, there's just people don't have access at first. Like, most of the company can't even read what's in a board. If we decide to ever look at UGC for customer support purposes, for example, we always get your permission first, and that's done through a token mechanism where you allow us authorization, allow our customer support team to look at it. It's something we take very seriously. We're hosted on AWS. All the files that you upload are encrypted at rest when you store them on our S3 instances, and it's something we're very serious about. We're part of the EU Safe Harbor Agreement, and our privacy policy spells out these things. I know it's very important, especially in Europe, and it's something we're thinking about all the time.
So you already have more than 10 million Trello users in the world, so first, congrats.
Thanks.
It's a big growth.
Milestone. Took us 4 years to get there. I think probably 20 million in the next year.
Where do you get the most traction? Is it with the web app? Is it with the mobile app? Is it more companies or personal users? Where do you get the most traction?
So it's really a mix of all of those things. I think that when we first started Trello, the audience that we had initially were mostly software developers, but we were building a tool that we wanted marketing people and salespeople to use. So that was the hypothesis: was can we build a horizontal tool that everyone can use? You know, not just software companies. Yeah. And we started to see that people would write these blog posts about how to use Trello for recruiting, or how to use Trello for marketing, or how to use it for your sales pipeline. And we were like, okay, this is working. And then the question was, will people use it in their personal lives? Could they use it as a consumer, for example? And we started to see people how to use Trello to plan your wedding or how to plan your vacation. And it was like, okay, this is working. This tool is a great tool for any kind of process that you might have. And it just helps you relieve your anxiety and get perspective on everything that's going on. It doesn't matter if you're at work or at home. And so I think it's just a combination of so many different things. A lot of the mobile downloads right now, people are using it as a companion app. They're a Trello user on the web first, and then they're downloading it to have it on their phone. But we also are spending a lot of time trying to figure out, how do we get a Trello user that is mobile first or mobile only, right? Where they might download it on their phone, and that's the only way they use it. Because if you think about maybe an architect or a kitchen or a contractor that was doing a kitchen renovation, or somebody that's out, their job does not have them sitting in front of a computer every day, but they do have their phone, they might have a watch or something like that, and they're connected. How do you make Trello accessible to them and help them? That's part of what
especially now the market is going for some small business only to tablet and iPhone only, so people may not have any PC in the workflow in a few.
And I think the visual and tactile nature of Trello, like even on an iPad, is actually a great experience. You know, like it's something we care a lot about.
You're here in France for the French version of Trello, and how do you plan your European implementation? Will you have people in Europe, or it's just translating the app? How do you see things? How do you plan things?
So a lot of what we're doing is, because we're small, startup, is sort of saying, Trello is going to grow organically, but are there obstacles in the way of that growth? And the first thing that's very obvious to us is, if we want Trello to spread from tech startups in France, for example, that are used to using tools in English, it has to be available in French, right? Like if we imagine a company outside of tech using it, like it has to be available. So that was step one, make the product available in French, tell the French people about it, be in the publications, talk to journalists like you, and then see where people are using it, how they're using it, how's it spreading. And then step two would be essentially, okay, now we need to market in that local country. We're probably going to need a presence there, and now businesses are starting to use it. We can sell to those businesses. We can start to, grow in the same way that, if I look back in the US, how Trello grew over the past couple of years, I can see that same process happening, again in these other markets. And it's sort of, what do we have to do differently that we might not have done the way that we did in the US market, because that's not the way that French people or Japanese people work, for example. And just sort of learn as we go along, because I've never done this before. And we've never launched, internationally before. So it's sort of a learning process for our startup, and so we're excited.
We were talking about this before the interview, and we were saying each country has different working approach, cultural approach to work. Is it something you take in consideration when you're developing Trello, or do you think that the very flexible nature of Trello is sufficient so it can adapt to different ways of working?
Yeah, I think that because from the very beginning we wanted to build a tool that could be used by somebody in many different circumstances, whether at work or home or whatever they were doing, we had to think about what was the core of the product that was applicable to all these different instances. Like, how could we strip down this into something very useful for people, but also something general? And I think that what we built with Trello is actually something that even spans cultures and languages, the core of what Trello is and the way that people work. I mean, the idea, the sort of motivation of Trello came from this idea of Kanban, which actually was invented in Japan. Yes, exactly. As part of sort of trying to figure out what was slowing down their processes and sort of like get a quick perspective on things. And it was about distilling the very useful parts of that and applying those to any industry or any sort of plan or project that you were going to have. And so I think we'll discover there might be pieces of Trello that are more applicable to different cultures or ways of working. But I think generally the flexibility of the nature, because of its design, can be used by anyone in any culture.
So Trello is 4 or 5 years old? 4 years old, okay. Would you say that going international is the most difficult step for a startup? And do you have any advice for startup going to this step, going international?
I can sort of help people learn from our mistakes. So one of the things when we went to go international was we looked at markets where people were already using Trello and sort of, okay, let's go there first because we already have fans in that country and it'll be easier to spread. And so we looked at Japan, Brazil, Spain, Germany, and France. And we did a little bit of studying about how people use it in those countries and also what it would take to market the product in those countries. We found that Japan is actually a very big investment. It's not just translating the app. There's a lot of cultural differences between the way
and they do business with Japan companies.
Exactly. So there's as a startup, it's somewhere where we want to go, but that was a big project. There were other countries where it was much easier, much more approachable. Somewhere like Germany, where actually they're very used to working in English and working with English tools, translating to German and then telling the German media about it was, you could get pretty far with that. We had an idea as an experiment for Spain. We would actually translate to Spanish and not do any marketing and see what would happen. And actually, don't do that. That's a giant mistake. If you don't tell people about your product, they won't know what, it's sort of in hindsight, duh. So it definitely has to be, you have to remove the technical barriers, so make it available in the language. It has to be, done by fluent speakers so that if the word is slightly wrong, in the translation, it just feels off, right? Like people they're like, this sounds funny. Like this does not feel French, or it does not feel German, or there's something about it. But those are very, technical things, and then you need to market it and tell people about it and actually France is the first place that we actually came to, that I'm here, and we actually had a presence, and you have to be there and talk to the people who are using it, talk to the journalists, and so I think that's another important step.
This is the last question, and very important one. Where does the name Trello come from?
That's a great question. We had a code name for the project was trellis, which in English is a structure for plants to grow on. And the idea behind that was we were building something to give structure to people's processes that they didn't have. And so we used that word internally, trellis, to codename the project. And then when it came time to launch, we needed a domain name. Trellis.com was not available. Trell.is was not available. So we scrambled and looked and tried to think of other names, and an ad popped up on my computer one day when I was looking for domain names and said Trello.com is available, and I was like, okay, that's perfect. Let's use that. So.
That's a great story. Nothing to do with that Russian singer, the Trololo on YouTube? No. Oh, too bad. Okay, well, Michael, thank you again. Thank you for your time. Sure. I know it's really busy here in France. You're here since
Monday.
Yeah. And you're going back to New York tomorrow. Yeah. Have some sleep or
to
work?
I haven't slept. I'm just up all.
Well, sleeping is so overrated. Marian and I are really big fan of Trello. It really helps us every day to organize our YouTube channel and to, as you were saying, combine many different works, because today there's kind of a blurring between work, what's not work, what needs organization, what doesn't need, and it's a perfect tool for us, and we're really fan and really happy to have you on our channel to speak about Trello. We hope this interview will bring some of our viewers to try Trello now that it's in French. And have a nice stay for the few hours you have left in France. Great night and a great trip back.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Michael.
Donc, bonjour à tous, je suis Alexia Ohannessian, je suis responsable du lancement international de Trello et cette semaine nous avons lancé Trello en France, donc pour moi c'est une grande semaine. Si vous voulez participer à l'aventure Trello française, il est possible d'aller sur trello.com/inspiration où vous trouverez d'autres tableaux Trello et aussi de partager votre propre tableau pour qu'il soit sur cette page-là. Pour ça, il suffit d'envoyer un mail à inspiration@trello.com et nous envoyer vos tableaux. Nous les sélectionnerons pour les partager avec la communauté. Merci à tous.